Am I the a-hole for telling my kids why we're getting a divorce? Alright, this is messy. Me and my ex-wife got married at 23 and had 3 kids. The 3 kids are 17, 15, and 14. I recently found out my ex-wife has been cheating on me for 3 years. Once I confronted her, she broke down, saying that I was never home and always working. By the way, I worked like that so she could be a stay-at-home mom. I raised my kids to know that cheating is one of the worst things in the world. If you no longer love someone, break up with them. Don't cheat. Even if you have issues with a relationship, work it out or leave them. Now, before we sat them down, their mother begged me not to tell them she cheated. I told her that if they ask, I would not lie. She tried to dance around the whole reason for the divorce, citing adult issues. Then our 14-year-old asked why we were getting a divorce, and I told him, flat out, that she cheated on me for 3 years. The mother immediately burst out crying, and all the kids were incredibly angry with her. It's been 3 months, and they still haven't spoken to her, saying she ruined their family and their lives, and that she's a cheater and a liar. She's been coming after me online saying that I'm a bastard and ruined her relationship with her kids. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm a child of divorce. I would have rather known the truth at the time my parents split than learn it a few years later. Your wife cheated. That is a fact, but she wanted to conceal that fact. That is an unrealistic expectation. Bad news is not a fine wine. It does not improve with age. Her relationship with the children took a backseat to her infidelity the moment she cheated. You owe her nothing, especially lying to protect her. Absolutely this. I still don't know what split up my parents 30 years ago. Not the a-hole. If it makes you feel any better, I didn't want to tell my kids I was living in a dead bedroom before my divorce, and my ex-wife made it feel like I was the strange one because I liked kissing and having a physical relationship, and thought I should just accept it. I'm still not sure how you'd tell them that when my oldest was 12 at the time. She's been coming after me online saying that I'm a bastard and ruined her relationship with her kids. Oh my god, the nerve of that woman. She ruined her relationship with them when she decided to cheat on you. 100% not the a-hole. And thank you for being honest with your kids and treating them like adults and not trying to sugarcoat it. They deserve honesty and transparency in this situation too. You didn't ruin anything. She did by cheating. I was the kid in the scenario before. And not once did I think it was my dad's fault for ruining my relationship with her for telling the truth, nor did the slandering from her help. Stand by your kids' close. They'll need it too during this. Even consider family therapy. Not the a-hole. I was a kid in the scenario too, and I knew what my mother was doing. Kids know more than you think they know. My parents decided to stay together though, for my sister and I. So I grew up with an alcoholic mother constantly fighting with my dad. Thankfully now my mom is sober, and my best friend, and they're still married. Things worked out in the end. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepsister she's allowed to be unhappy about her parents' divorce and her dad's remarriage? Last year, my mom married her husband. She and I lost my dad 3 years before, while her new husband was divorced 13 months at that point. I'm the youngest of 3, and my older siblings are both in college. My mom's husband has a 12-year-old daughter, and just like me, this is hard for her. She's still upset about her parents' divorce and isn't happy about her dad marrying my mom. I can say I'm happy for my mom, but not happy overall that we're here, that we were in a circumstance where she needed to remarry. Honestly, I'm not sure I would ever have been ready, so I can't say I would ever make a big deal out of it. She was grumpy last weekend, and her dad was trying to get her to spend some time with my mom. She ended up holding up in her room, and I went to go talk to her. She said I didn't get it, but I told her I didn't love it either. That my feelings were mixed because my mom deserves to be happy and I was happy for her, but I couldn't say it made me happy. I told her it's okay not to be happy. I told her it was okay to be unhappy that her parents divorced and her dad remarried. That our feelings aren't wrong because they're our feelings. I told her it's not abnormal to be unhappy when your parents divorce. That I have friends who still wished their parents had a divorce after more than 10 years. That of course some people won't feel that way too, and it's fine. I told her if she felt like she needed to, she could probably find an adult she trusts to talk to. She ended up talking to her dad, and he and my mom are pissed about what I said to her. They told me it's not okay to be unhappy when your parents are happier, and that I should be happy to have grown my family again after a death. Does what I said make me the a-hole? Not day-hole. You probably helped the daughter by saying that, and it's simply true. No one should be forced to act happy about a certain thing, especially not when it's divorce and remarriage. The simple fact is that happiness can't be forced. Kiddo would have been feeling unhappy and then feeling guilty for not feeling happy. That's a rather cruel thing to do to anyone. Not day-hole. Clearly, you have more emotional maturity than your mom and stepdad in this situation. Your comments are 100% right. Don't feel sorry for feeling this way, or for saying it's a stepsister. Right? 100% OP in my opinion is in the right and not day-hole. In fact, by acknowledging the feelings, it would be possible to move past them. Your parents are doing a great job making sure she resents the situation forever. Not day-hole. Your mom and stepdad need to take off their psychedelic glasses and realize their marriage is about them. Stepsister should not be forced to spend time with your mom. I know her dad thinks it will facilitate the bonding process, but at the age you girls are, the happy blended family may never happen. Socially functioning blended family may be the best that can happen. You girls need to build relationships with your step-parents at the pace you feel comfortable with. Good for you for talking to your step. I'm sure it made her feel good that someone understood. Hugs. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for giving my stepson's room to my daughter? I'll try to keep this short. I've been married to my wife for over a year now. Have a stepson, 14 male, and a biological daughter, 9 female. When we married, my wife and I agreed that I would sell my house and move into hers because there's more living space. Stepson already had his own room, so my daughter got the extra bedroom, which is smaller than his. It was fun at first, but my daughter has a lot of stuff, and soon it became too small and cramped for her. Stepson also lives with us part-time, 5 days with us, 9 days with my dad, and has a huge room at his dad's. My daughter lives with us full-time, so this is her only room. It seemed to me that the logical thing would be for my daughter to have the larger room since she has more stuff, and spends all of her time here. Wife was hesitant at first, and felt like my stepson would be upset and feel like he's being pushed aside. But I convinced her that my daughter needed the space more, so she ultimately agreed. We ended up switching rooms this week. Freshly painted them, and my wife did some shopping for stepson's new room so he'd feel special. He came home from his dad's and we surprised him with his new room. He reacted okay, thanked us for the new stuff and didn't seem upset at first, but now he's been moping and has been cold to all of us. Wife is now regretting our choice, and upset at me for convincing her that it would be fine. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole for not discussing with your stepson first. At least give the kid a heads up. Jesus. That's what I was thinking. He's old enough to have discussed this first. Info. Why did you bother to run this by your stepson? I mean, considering he reacted okay, he sounds like a decent kid. But WTF? I'd be pissed if I was just ejected from my room by my stepdad without my input. Even if it was for understandable reasons. You're the a-hole for the surprise alone. The rest of your reasoning makes some sense, but you really disrespected him by doing it this way. This was a beg for forgiveness instead of ask permission kind of scenario. You're the a-hole. Talk about prioritizing one kid over the other. His whole world is changing. His mom is remarrying. He has a new parent and sibling moving in. He has to go back and forth between houses. And you just completely took away safe space to give it to your kid. Now you can't be certain that he doesn't feel like a part of your family. Because when he left for a few days, you took away his room. I feel awful for him. Imagine coming back to that. Surprise! Your room is gone. Your new little stepsister took it. Wow, I feel sick. If you're not ready to parent both kids equally, which it sounds like you're not, please don't move in with this kid. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my stepmom a letter from my sister knowing it would upset her and my dad? I, 16 male, lost my sister 5 months ago. She'd had cancer for almost 2 years. She knew she was dying, and before it happened, she wrote a letter telling our stepmom she had never loved her, never wanted her around, and that she was not welcome at her funeral, as well as other stuff my sister didn't tell me about. I knew the idea of the letter was to let our stepmom know she had never grown to love her. She asked me to give it to her before she died, and I did what she asked. I heard nothing about the letter for months, but neither my dad nor stepmom showed up to the funeral, and my dad was talking to me like normal. Then a month ago, he confronted me over it. He asked what kind of stunt it was and how could I be so cruel to someone who was grieving. I told him she had wanted me to give her the letter, that she wrote it and wanted our stepmom to know. I think he was shocked because he seemed to think I wrote the letter or something. Or maybe our mom did, since she and our stepmom always hated each other's guts. My dad was really upset and asked had she always felt that way. I said yes. He stopped the conversation and went back to his place. And it was a week after when he and my stepmom said I was a cruel bastard for doing that to them. That I should have burned the letter and let my sister's last words to my stepmom be something else. My dad told me he was done with me, that I had broken his wife's heart, that I had trampled on 13 years of being our stepmom, all to help my sister's bitterness be the thing that lived on instead of something else. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You did something incredibly hard. The fact that your dad is willing to miss his daughter's funeral and then cut you out after this speaks volumes about what kind of trash dad he is. I'm so sorry for your loss. Dad is a horrendous father, but Dad's sister pulled a super prick move on Opie. Why didn't she pass the letter on herself? Or even ask Opie to put it in mail for her? Sister had to know this would cause blowback. That's why she never said this stuff when she was alive. She selfishly put Opie in a position to take the heat, and there was no reason for this. Opie, be kind to yourself. You haven't done anything wrong. Not a hole. First off, I just want to say that I'm truly sorry for your loss, and that you are having to deal with this stupidity while you grieve. You carried out Sister's final wishes. You had nothing to do with what she said or how she felt. Your father and stepmom are major a-holes, though. I understand that they are grieving as well, but to take that out on you is disgusting. They should really be taking the time to evaluate their own actions and try to understand what they did to make your sister feel the way that she did. Don't feel bad about anything regarding this situation. You were not at fault and you did nothing wrong. Info. I feel like there's got to be more to this story. Like, what's your stepmom like? Why did your sister dislike her so much? I have an issue with how strict she can be, and how she expected us to follow her rules when we were at home with our mom. I don't hate her though, but my sister had much deeper issues with her that I'm not even sure of why. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be a surrogate for my sister-in-law because of vanity? I, 25 female, used to be so close with my sister-in-law. My brother and I were close growing up, and when he started dating and eventually met his now wife almost 6 years ago, I was thrilled because she is an amazing woman who brings out the best in him. She has also supported me in coming out to my family as a lesbian, being the first to proudly display her support, and she makes my brother happier than I have ever seen him. I say all of this because the turn of events has left me entirely distressed. For the past 3 years after they got married, they have been trying to get pregnant. They got some medical procedures done, and eventually learned one of them is infertile. Since then, they have been looking into alternatives. One of them was surrogacy. Last month, I was on call with my brother and his wife when they started to very subtly hint that surrogacy is expensive, and they were sure that they wanted a biological child to be related to at least one of them. My brother suggested maybe they could find someone within the family willing to volunteer. I wished them luck, and they both kinda stared at me, and then it clicked. I immediately said I would not be their surrogate. I loved them and felt for them, but I was never going to get pregnant ever. They seemed disappointed, but moved on. Ever since, they have been bugging me, dropping hints, but I have always disengaged or cut them off sharply on the topic. Then 3 days ago, my sister-in-law and I went to our downtown area for book shopping, and I made it clear to her that I would not discuss surrogacy with her or I would leave. We passed by a clothing shop with a toddler mannequin, and she broke down and eventually snapped at me why I wouldn't do this one thing for her and my brother. And this is where I may be the a-hole. I have low self-confidence in how I look, and I always have. I am on the curvy side of body shaping, leaning towards heavier build, and I hate it. I've never felt beautiful in my life. I know pregnancy absolutely destroys women's bodies, and I'm only barely beginning to feel good when I see my reflection. I know that a pregnancy would absolutely destroy that. I lost my temper when she started begging, and yelled at her that I would not be destroying my self-confidence for her and my brother, and stormed off. We drove in separate cars. I feel bad because I know that they really want a family, and I do love my sister-in-law, but I just cannot do this for them. They have been calling and texting, but I haven't answered. There are other reasons, but this is the big one and what I said specifically in this situation. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Okay, because I saw this in the comments a couple of times and I also realized how gross this sounded without clarification. My brother is the one who cannot have children. Sister-in-law's worried about how my brother would feel if she got pregnant by another man because he was cheated on by a previous flame. It was a big thing that nearly destroyed him until he met my sister-in-law. And he has admitted in the past that he could not handle it if she was carrying another man's child. Saying that makes me realize that they sound even more a-holish. I will be speaking to them after I have a few more days to calm down and gather some research and then speaking to them about this. I'll make sure to include laws and details about surrogacy, and I will tell them that I'm willing to help them look into adoption. But after the harassment, I do not think I would be a good person for a character witness if they choose to go that route. No matter how this talk goes, I will be taking a step back from my relationship with them. Thank you for all the prompt advice and support. Now for the comments. Not an a-hole. Professional agencies wouldn't even let you do it. They want surrogates to have already given birth before because only those women really understand the commitment being made. To be clear, even if you already had a child, you'd still be not an a-hole for refusing. Surrogacy is such a big deal that surrogates are paid $30,000 or more. Someone asking for a $30,000 favor is a lot, and they should be fully prepared to hear no. Not an a-hole. Being a surrogate is a giant task. You have to have the right frame of mind for it most of all. There is a reason why it is so expensive. And honestly, if you have body-related issues, you probably wouldn't pass to be a paid surrogate, like an official one, anyways. Giving the gift of a child is the biggest physical and mental thing a woman can be asked to do. And no woman should ever be forced, coerced, guilted into doing so regardless of the situation. It is not your responsibility to supply your brother and sister-in-law with children. They are not a-holes for asking, but they are for pushing. Ex-wife, 39 female, is going homeless. Our 2 daughters, 4 female and 6 female, are moving in with me, 33 male, but I refuse to let my ex-wife move into my house. My ex-wife and I were married for about 7 years and have 2 daughters. The end of our marriage was rocky and she ended up divorcing me about a year and a half ago. It was a hard time for me, but after everything was finalized, I understood that the divorce was really needed, and I'm truly happy now. I have moved on long ago and progressing in my life like never before. We have a good co-parenting relationship, but nothing more. I live in my house that I recently bought and my ex lives in an apartment she rents. My ex recently called me to ask for help. She hasn't been doing well financially and can't afford rent anymore. She told me that she will be evicted in a couple of weeks and had nowhere to go. She asked if she could move in together with our daughters for a couple of months until she finds a new job and new place. She said that she was going to help me out at home by cooking, cleaning, and doing all the housework. She kept going on about how she has nobody and that I'm her last hope or she will otherwise have to live in her car. She said that she knows I'm able to take care of all of us financially and that it would be amazing if I helped her out in these tough times. I told her first off that I'm ready to take in our daughters full-time whenever needed and that she could let me know anytime when I could come pick up their stuff. My daughters are my #1 priority and I'll always take care of them no matter what happens. I did tell her that I won't let her move in under any circumstances. I told her that the financial safety and security I provide are a privilege she doesn't have. I'm always ready to take care of our daughters, but what happens to her is none of my concern. She started crying, and she kept telling me that she would be the perfect housewife and help out as much as she could. She said that she had no other option than living in her car. I told her that I don't need nor do I want her as my housewife, and that if she needs to live in her car to survive, then that is something she'll have to deal with by herself. I know that I come off as heartless, but I don't see why it would be my obligation to help her. She isn't my wife anymore, so anything that doesn't concern the kids I truly don't care about. The only obligation I have is taking care of our daughters, and I'm going to do that without hesitation. I don't want to have my ex involved in my life any more than she already is, and have no plan to change that. Do you guys think I owe her help in this situation? Edit. For the people asking about our divorce, she made the last few years of our marriage hell for me. I only put up with her for the sake of our daughters. She also tried to screw me over in the divorce, but it didn't work out for her. I have forgiven her, but I haven't forgotten. I see more negative coming from letting her stay with than positive. She would verbally and sometimes even physically mistreat me. She kicked me out of our then apartment multiple times and left me stranded to stay with a friend. I know for a fact if I went through the situation, she wouldn't even give me the time of day, let alone help me in any way. Now for the top advice. You're right. She's not your responsibility, but make sure that decision won't backfire. I can't imagine your daughters being very happy with seeing their mom suffering and you not being willing to help. I know it's more complex than that, but they're young. They certainly won't understand. Isn't there any social system in your country? I can't imagine she's just going to be without any form of support. I'll always make sure my daughters are taken care of. I know what I'm doing might seem heartless, but the things I have gone through because of her don't weigh up to the benefits of me letting her stay. I still pay child support, but I don't really know what her options are besides that. It's not a good idea for their mom to move back in. The kids won't be happy or you will get used. I feel like there are some important details missing. The divorce was finalized 1.5 years ago. Did she not get 50% of marital assets? I'm just assuming since you've since been able to buy a house, she likely got something. What conditions are causing her to become homeless? Is she renting a luxury apartment and have a luxury car and can't afford it working a job? Or is she having to leave work because she needs surgery or got diagnosed with a terminal illness? If you make enough money after paying child support to afford a home and between a job and child support she can't afford rent, I feel like there has to be something missing from this story. Especially considering in my state, child support for 2 kids would be 30% of your taxable income. I want to add that depending on the state/city, if you let her move in, she could claim tenant status and you would be hard-pressed to evict her. Please speak with an attorney before you consider this as an option. A better short-term option would be to pay for a short-term hotel for a specified amount of time to allow her to make her own arrangements, to show your kids you try to help. But first and foremost, please speak with an attorney before you do anything. Next story. Wife asked about open relationship. I don't think I love her anymore. So, like everyone on the planet, we also watched in shock when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And, well, eventually we found out about her entanglement and their unconventional marriage. Wife got excited about open relationships and started discussing pros and cons about such a relationship. And eventually, she came to the conclusion that we can have a successful open relationship because we are both very attractive people who won't have issues finding hookups easily. She is a 10 out of 10 on most days, and I am 8.5 or 9 over 10 on my best day. I was humoring her, but now I shut her down and told her that I have no desire to change the dynamics of our marriage, and she accepted it and we closed the topic. That was a week ago, and I somehow have lost feelings for her. I don't know how to describe it any other way. We used to have a very active, intimate life. But for the last week, we had this discussion last week. It's as if my libido has suddenly died. I can't even bring myself to kiss or hug her. My mind is on guard constantly as if it's waiting for the other shoe to drop. She has noticed something's wrong, but I told her it's work-related. Info, I'm 34 male and she's 36 female, 3 years married. Help me out here, please. I don't want to lose our marriage, but it has crossed my mind to be honest. I don't know what to do anymore. Knowing that she wants other people has probably made you feel like you aren't enough for her, and has you wondering if she would be in the moment with you or if she would be. It has been imagining you're someone else. That's the danger of even mentioning opening a relationship. It felt like a gut punch, but one that reaches inside your body. I am waiting for her to bring it up again. Maybe it's in a month, year, or decade. Yup, once your partner tells you they want other people, you can't unknow it. Unfortunately, it often ends relationships because the non-asker can't get past feeling inadequate, and that leads to them shutting off intimately and emotionally. I wouldn't say it's just insecurity or inadequacy. Bringing up the topic of an open relationship also just plain ruins the magic. Being in love with someone and then telling you they would like to see other people isn't a positive feeling. An open relationship is sometimes also just the kink of wanting to sleep with other people. It's just like if a partner asks to fulfill a kink that you found disgusting or maybe even morally reprehensible. That's also a way someone would look at another permanently differently afterwards. It also could be the way she was so excited about it.
She mentioned how good both of you looked and how easy it would be to find other people. She completely missed the point. It's easy to find others to hook up with. She completely took you out of the picture. She didn't even ask you what you thought of open marriages before proposing the idea. I too don't think I'd be happy if that was requested by my husband, even if he dropped the idea. I'd wonder if he's been unhappy in the marriage and for how long. My heart would have been so torn by the consideration of it by him. Thank you for understanding. My heart is torn that she was even considering this. I get it, man. I'd be crushed if my wife was willing to do this, and it would make me question everything I ever thought. I think I'd try marriage counseling. Prof Blum said it well. I'll add that feelings of insecurity are likely to continue and grow worse when you start analyzing what she's doing, where she's going, who she's going/doing it with. If my wife of almost 20 years just started talking about wanting to open our relationship up, I imagine I would be in the same boat as you. Once this topic is broached, there's really no going back from it. Unfortunately, it will always be in the back of your mind and can be a relationship ending. The fact it's affecting you to the point you've lost feelings of affection and intimacy for your wife isn't good. Don't rug sweep it or lie about it. Be honest with your partner. Let her know this is what's bothering you. Maybe the feelings will come back. I can guarantee they won't if you continue to not talk about it. Next story is titled, Fiancé left me after betraying my trust and I'm not sure how to feel. My 32 male fiancé, 32 female of 10 years in a fantastic relationship, developed feelings for another man after a very brief attempt at an open relationship, and then cut contact with him saying she would work on repairing our relationship. I convinced her that he was manipulative and bad for her, and she agreed. She blocked him online and committed to stay with me. But 3 weeks ago, he managed to find a way to sneakily send her a message via another app saying, "I miss you." She said it brought up emotions in her, but she promised to not respond to him and we moved forward. Since then, only 3 weeks, she became distant with me, and we started arguing because I could feel her pulling away. Not loud, shouty fights, but some uncomfortable discussions. I made my demands clear that I expected her to work on repairing our relationship. She was falling into a serious depression, and so she was not even able to hear me speak about how hurt I was about all this, without her getting defensive and angry. I was left trying to comfort and take care of her without being able to express my feelings. One night, after a relatively small argument, she suddenly became very angry and cold with me, and I didn't know why. The next morning, she broke up with me virtually out of the blue. When just 5 days earlier, she had given me a ring as a symbolic token of her commitment to me. After breaking up with me, she then admitted to me she had phoned the other guy the previous night while I was out of the house to tell him that she missed him too. I was devastated and completely destroyed. Since then, she insists that he was not the reason she broke up with me, and that there were other things that she wasn't happy with, like our communication styles and our intimate life, though she had not brought up these things as serious problems ever before. I told her I considered this to be cheating or infidelity, as she intentionally broke her promise to me to not contact him again. She says that it doesn't count as infidelity because she didn't keep it a secret, and that she told me the next day, but she does consider it as betrayal. She says she felt depressed and needed someone to speak to, so she called him for comfort. She could not explain to me why she couldn't call her mom or sister or friends instead. She also says that despite her betrayal, she feels like I've hurt her just as much, though when I ask why she can't give me any answer, I can understand. I actually think a betrayal sounds worse than infidelity. I don't really care what we call it, but to me it seems like she is minimizing how bad her actions actually were. To me, it was a complete breach of trust and honesty. Edit. She also told me she's leaving because she wants to be single and explore again. I guess after rediscovering her sexuality, via my help through the years. She was never intimately attuned all along. She even says she wanted to spend her life and grow old with me, but she needs to be single and explore for 2 to 3 years. Not sure if this is just a lie to make me feel better or something. All of this is very out of character for her, and her personality changes started happening the week her doctor doubled her antidepressant meds. Any advice with this? Now for the advice. This is one of those times where OP badly needs to recognize they are fighting for nothing. The relationship cannot be saved. When you had to convince her that this other guy was bad news, it was already over. You just need to accept it and let her go. Good luck. Sometimes I read these and I just can't. I can't imagine how low your self-worth has to be to try to appease these selfish a-holes. And then when they take a massive crap on them anyways, they come here asking any advice? Leave, run, exit. Any other synonym for escape? Infidelity, betrayal, those are just semantics. At the end of the day, that trust was breached. You should ask her. If her child was going through the same things, would she encourage them to do the same things she did? Based on her answer and her reasoning, you should have an idea of whether or not you really see a future with this person, and if you're both on the same page. If not, ask yourself if you're willing to put up with that, and how long can you last in that kind of relationship. P.S. Cries for open relationships are red flags for me personally, so that should have been an indicator already that something was amiss. Open marriage to attempt to fix something that instead should have been done with investing time on each other, better communication, and couples counseling. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Open marriage might work if it started from the beginning, but developing feelings for someone down the line is always the risk. It was still emotional cheating. Hope both of you set your relationship on fire when you open it up. Just realize that the trust is gone and move on. Learn from this and do not do it again. Last story. My sister's 31 female husband, 43 male, keeps trying to flirt with me, 23 female. So a few months ago, I had surgery. Nothing complicated, but we had family members come in and check on me after work. At first, she would come with him. But then last week I was there, he came alone as her work was holding her behind. Here are the things he did that made me suspicious. In one instance, he tried changing my IV bag even though the nurse said she would do it. And he stuck his crotch in my face. Even the nurse gave me a look of concern. 2, one time he kept calling me good girl because I did my therapy stuff. To me, good girl is, I don't know. My ex would call me that during intimacy and it was a turn on. So that word is so creepy coming from him. But okay, maybe I'm overreacting on that one. 3, another time he told me how beautiful he thought I was. But when I gave him the crazy look eye, he said how his sister was prettier than me. Just enough to be uncomfortable for me. I told my sister about instance 1 and 3. And she said that I was likely overreacting. But that she would talk to him and she was defensive and I just dropped it. I didn't tell her about number 2, as I'm probably just exaggerating. Yesterday was our parents' 30th anniversary dinner. At Inside Talk, he asked if I liked older men and how older men are great for women, etc. I just kind of evaded his question. I prefer men 28 and below personally. Anyways, these are all things that in themselves may not be aha moments. But this man is creeping me out, honestly. I noticed him checking me out yesterday. Maybe I'm just seeing things. I don't know. Next time, answer his question loud enough for others to hear. No, I don't ever think about dating some creepy old guy. Anyone over 28 is not attractive to me and too old for me, or something like that. Dude is currently getting away with being an absolute a-hole because others aren't witness to his awful behavior. Dudes like that usually need to be embarrassed into stopping. Avoid being alone with him. I hope others catch on soon. Good luck. The phrasing that works is, I am too young for you. Put the shame on his preferences where it belongs. I agree with above about loudly responding every time he makes a comment. Protect yourself by never being alone with him if at all possible. Enlist others. Do you have other siblings? To ensure you aren't stuck sitting next to him. He's a creep. Your sister is in denial. Nah, this dude is trying to get with you. Has anything changed with your sister physically or emotionally the past year or so? If so, that may be what is pushing his pea-sized brain to try and go for you. But either way, it's pretty gross of him. Just the fact that she's over 30 now and he probably picked her up when she was her sister's age. The dude has a preference and it's much younger women. Ding ding ding. His wife aged out of his preferred age range, so he's looking for trade-in. It's absolutely gross. Ex-wife, 39 female, wants me 39 male a year after we split. Relationship ended with my wife of 15 years last summer, after several years of drifting apart. The passion and intimacy went, and we were just roommates for the last few years in a dead bedroom situation. She pulled the trigger and I initially wanted to save it, but she was adamant, and it was frankly a relief to be able to let go. After years of trying to fix things and hoping they'd get better, she never tried, stuck to her guns and refused counseling. She told me over and over again that it's meant to be easy. It shouldn't be hard work. I stayed in the house in a spare room for 5 or 6 months while I got myself together. I now live close by in our small town and have 50-50 access to our kids, 11 and 9. I thought we were moving on and were going to have a positive relationship for the sake of the kids. But a few months ago, she found out I was dating again. It has been a horror show ever since. She has obsessed over the girl I was seeing. Suggested I was cheating with her before we split. Not true. She bent out of shape that I was ready to date again, and she's not. And is just hurting herself over and over, obsessing over it. The other night she called me in tears and confessed she loved me and that she thought we would just get back together. She said, like in the films, if it's meant to be. If she had said this a year ago, I'd be thrilled. But she has made herself and me miserable for the last year. Before I moved out, she ignored me in the same house for 6 months. Constantly accused me of hooking up with girls when I was struggling with my mental health. If I rebuff her advances, she has made it clear she will move away to be closer to her family and friends and take the kids with her. Can't blame her. I just don't think I want to go back. The last few years I've been so unhappy trying to hold things together. And the little dating I've done since I was single has shown me there's more to life. But it also means depriving my kids of a normal upbringing. Now for the top advice. Your ex-wife is very delusional and seems to have no idea that life is no movie. When she says stuff like a marriage should be easy or that she thought you would get back together, that are, in my opinion, very red flags. I mean, what did she expect? That one day you would kneel down in front of her, confess your deep love and beg for her to take you back after she refused to work on your marriage and treated you like she did in the recent months? If you get back together with her, then you know exactly what will happen. You have to put in all the work while she just waits for things to happen. In my opinion, meet with a lawyer and find out if she can actually just take the kids away from you and move with them to her family. That should be your main concern. Until now, she did nothing else, but showing you that splitting up was the right choice and this one call where she told you that she wants you back. Do you think she would want you back if you wouldn't have gone out to date again? Has she worked on herself in any kind of way? Or does she just think that you get back together and everything will be sunshine and rainbows just like in the movies? Here is what happened. She split up with you because she thought that as soon as she leaves you, the guys would be running after her, like in the movies. No one ran after her, but you were moving on and other women were interested in you. You got what she wanted. Now she wants you back. Not actually to be with you, but rather to keep you from getting what she wanted. Very solid advice. With the way she acted before and after the divorce, especially with how she started sabotaging Opie's new possible relationships, being with her comes at the cost of one's dignity. Wouldn't be surprised if she did have dates of her own, but people saw through her red flags and didn't want anything remotely serious. But with how much Opie did try to reconcile, she'd think that he'd come running after her forever. It was a safe last choice to have around. Opie, invest in a lawyer and don't let her have the kids. Based on your story, your ex shows many signs of narcissism and little to no empathy towards others. The way she has no problem falsely accusing you of hooking up and cheating to your face and even torments your dates is not normal. And there's next to no chance that she's not gonna be telling all the kind stuff to your kids and paint you in bad light in their eyes, since she does it even with total strangers that you're dating. Also, not much related, but narcissists tend to project and gaslight a lot. The idea is, if they accuse you of something and openly condemn that behavior, you wouldn't dare to attribute it to them. So her accusing you of hooking up can tell you a lot about her, if it was pulled out of her butt. No, don't take her back. She's being extremely unreasonable. She was emotionally gone from the relationship long before the breakup, yet after she sees you moving on to find your own happiness, she wants you back? It's normal to lose a bit of that passion when you're in a long-term relationship, especially with kids. But you've tried your best, suggesting counseling and so on. There are so many women who would want their man to be as invested in their relationship as you were. Honestly, if you get back together, how long do you think until she starts treating you like the same as before? The catalyst for her wanting you back is solely because of another woman.
To be frank, I don't think the relationship will last based on her jealousy and her immaturity. Find your own happiness. Don't let your ex-wife take over and ruin it for you again. Next story. My ex is trying to wedge her way back in my life. My ex, 27 female, and I, 29 male, divorced in 2019. She cheated and I moved on with my life. I got a better job and have been making a lot more money. I got a new house. I've gotten serious about my health and have gained some muscle mass. My whole life has been looking up since the divorce. I recently started dating my neighbor, 28 female. She and I go jogging every morning and we're hanging out a lot before we started dating. I really like her. We have a lot in common and every time we see each other, it ends up being so much fun. She's amazing. My ex called me a few days ago and I told her I want nothing to do with her. I was already seeing someone else. She threw a fit and I hung up on her and blocked her. Then she showed up at my house, insulted my girlfriend and kicked me in the nuts. Girlfriend called the police and she left. I had a busted window today and I'm not really sure what she will do next. What should I do? I'm staying at my girlfriend's house and have my truck in her carport so my ex will not know I'm there. But damn, it's been 2 years. Why is she doing this now? Edit/update. I installed some cameras at my driveway and several around my house and property and filed a police report of the broken window. My girlfriend is pissed that I didn't push for charges, but I have no concrete proof that she attacked me. I guess I will see if she does something else. Call the attorney who handled your divorce about getting a restraining order. Grinching to say you most certainly do have proof to sustain a battery conviction. You have you saying it to court and an eyewitness. This is the same level of proof as in like 90% of convictions. Press charges for her attacking you. Call the cops about the window. They may be able to find some evidence that it was your ex. Set up security cams. Start gathering info for an order of protection. Good luck. Adding this one thing on, Opie should alert his neighbors to the issue and ask that if they see her around, they don't share information about this or his girlfriend to her. Kicking you in the groin in front of a witness would be grounds for charges. You need to go after this witch with everything you've got. Maybe if you get her attention, she'll leave you alone. Aren't you glad you didn't waste any more of your life with her? I'm very glad I left when I did. The witness is my girlfriend though. Without even stand up in court. Plus, my girlfriend was ready to start a war over that kick. Her future kids are in there and she's pissed about it. Having to hold her back while trying to breathe through it was a freaking nightmare. Leaving my ex-wife was the best decision I have ever made. Next story is titled, My boyfriend's resentment towards my parents' financial situation is starting to ruin our relationship. Me, 20s female, boyfriend 20s male, parents 60s male and female. I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years now, and we live together. My parents are in their 60s. They were immigrants and worked very hard for a very long time. My dad worked 2 full-time jobs so my mom could go to school. She's now a doctor with her own practice. They do very well financially, not insanely rich, but they're comfortable. They were very thrifty and worked all the time for a very long time. Because they had me when they were older, I grew up very fortunate and I'm extremely grateful. I'm currently going to school full-time and working 2 part-time jobs. My boyfriend had a very different upbringing. His dad dipped out when he was 2. His mom had to raise him on her own and she's a high school teacher. They had what they needed, but he had to work from a young age to buy stuff that he wanted like a car, etc. He went to college, and has a decent job now and makes a decent living. Since day one of us being together, my boyfriend has had issues with the fact that my parents are well off. He was unemployed for a while and they helped out. He said this didn't make him uncomfortable and he was very grateful. However, he just constantly makes snarky comments about their money. Keep in mind they are very humble people and extremely generous towards us and family. They are not snobby hoarders of wealth. They openly say that they worked hard for most of their life and now that they're older and close to retirement, they want to enjoy their earnings. My dad purchased a new car a few weeks ago, as the one he had before was old and had been in and out of the shop for weeks, and he decided to just pull the plug and get a new one. It's a nice car, and he loves it. My boyfriend has been complaining ever since. He says my dad just bought that to show off. It's not even a practical car. It's a pretty standard sedan. I don't know what he means by not practical, etc. He says it's unfair that my dad can just go buy a car when he wants.
I told him that when he's 60 with money saved and a good credit score, he can also go buy any car he wants. My dad wasn't able to do that at 28. He's able to do it at 60. Basically, he just hates the fact that my parents are wealthy. But he loves my parents as people, and I just am so sick and tired of this causing problems. It has caused arguments between us countless times. Today, I finally told him that the situation it is. He has nothing but good things to gain from this, and he needs to stop being so resentful of it. I understand completely that it's awkward. I had a friend growing up that was 5 times wealthier than my parents, and it's made me uncomfortable too. But 3 years in, I just don't know how to fix this, and I can't deal with this anymore. The rest of our relationship is great, and he gets along with them. It's just the snarky attitude that comes up. Now for the top advice. It just sounds like a petty person. You can't accept someone's generosity and then talk trash about their ability to provide that generosity. Not only that, but rather self-centered. He makes comments that Opie's dad bought a car to show off. Yes, the dad dropped tens of thousands on a car didn't need, just to annoy you. Got it. The boyfriend needs to work on his own issues. Today I finally told him that the situation it is. He has nothing but good things to gain from this, and he needs to stop being so resentful of it. I might go further and tell him that when he attributes bad motives to people you know don't take their privilege for granted and worked hard to instill those same values in you, or acts like it's their fault we live in a society where cars aren't treated as a basic necessity. Although if that's his biggest complaint about his upbringing, he needs to look at people who grew up without food or a roof over their head and shut his mouth about how unfair he had it. It just makes him look jealous and petty and causes you to seriously question the future of the relationship. And if it does continue to be a point of contention despite you telling him to deal with it, then seriously rethink if this is who you want to be with. Still, he should incorporate the same values as your father instead of resenting him. Cut him loose. He's not going to stop resenting those more fortunate and privileged from the sound of this. You need to sit him down for a serious talk. Is this the man you want to marry? The man who belittles and snarks and hates your parents for being better off than he was? Is this the man you want children with, who may become resentful enough to not let your parents see them or help you financially support them? I'm not suggesting an ultimatum, but you need to put your foot down and tell him, in certain terms, to stop. If he won't, you need to decide if you're gonna deal with that. Now for the last story. My 36 male, wife 34 female, seems to think me and one of her best friends, 33 female, would be the perfect couple. I don't know how to convince her otherwise, and it's destroying her self-esteem. My wife is a confident, gorgeous woman. However, she is slightly autistic, which honestly no one will ever realize unless they really spend time with her. We get along great. We can talk for hours. She's funny, adorable, super honest. Too honest sometimes, and very charismatic in her own way. She's very high-functioning, and her only weaknesses is that she won't often catch most jokes, memes, and sarcasm. But she's getting better and finds many types of memes and jokes hilarious, just not all. One of her best friends, Amanda, is also very gorgeous. My wife is more of a tomboy, but loves to dress appealing, which often for her is just tight-fitting clothes with cleavage. Amanda is very feminine, and my wife will always tell me or her that she just doesn't get that look or how to pull it off. Recently, Amanda and I were working on a research paper together, and we started meeting up once a week for coffee to discuss it. My wife never comes, and despite the three of us being friends forever, we rarely hang out as a unit. It's either my wife and Amanda or me and Amanda, as of late. However, my wife tagged along on Saturday, as we were all going to a games night afterward. All seemed well, but during the game night, my wife got quiet and suddenly slammed her arms down on the table. No one knew she was upset, but she was giving me the stink eye, so I knew something was off. I made up an excuse and we both left 15 minutes later. I asked my wife what was wrong, but she refused to talk. When we got home, she blew up. She said how all night Amanda was flirting with me, how we have inside jokes she doesn't get, how I was giving Amanda more attention than her, teasing Amanda and helping her as well. While all of that was true, this was the first games night Amanda came to, and she knew no one but me and my wife. My wife wasn't exactly helping Amanda or introducing her, so I took that initiative to include her and teach her the games.
No part of me was flirting or being extra nice intentionally, though I do understand how my wife saw it. The next day, she admitted that she long suspected me and Amanda would be an ideal couple. How we get things about each other, how we look good together in pictures. She also pointed out that Amanda has been single for over a year, which isn't like her, and that same year is the year me and her have been closest. She thinks Amanda's content with me and not looking. I admit I'm close to Amanda too. We chat for about 30 minutes to an hour every day. But she just keeps me company. I'm not really close to her emotionally. It's just clothes and food we talk about, some current affairs and our research. Since then, my wife has been down, and it's really making me sad to see her this way. She keeps thinking she's standing in the way of me and Amanda being together, which is crazy. Today, she's trying to convince me how much better off I'd be with Amanda, saying all the autistic things about herself won't be a problem with Amanda, etc. How do I convince her because she isn't trusting me? She says she just trusts what she sees. I've tried telling her all the things I love about her, how I truly do find Amanda a bit dull as well. Wait, you admit it's true that Amanda's flirting with you? You need to nip that right in the bud and tell Amanda to knock it off. The people that you surround yourself with should be friends of your relationship. And unless extracurricular flirting is something you and your wife agreed upon, this isn't okay. Also, they talk for an hour a day? I've never talked to any of my friends that much / that frequently. Hell, I don't even usually talk to the person I'm dating every single day until things get serious. Why does she need to keep him company? Yeah, that part is a little weird. Does Opie even talk to his wife an hour a day? You think Amanda is dull, but chat with her for an hour every day? I don't even connect with friends I love that much. Something about your story doesn't line up. Maybe the wife is, in her own way, reacting to something that is teetering very close on the edge of an emotional affair. After reading this and the comments you've made, I think the only reason you came to this thread was to confirm whether Amanda has been flirting with you and is worth pursuing. You show no concern for your wife's emotional state, nor do you feel inclined to dial back your interactions with Amanda, which would be the original answer you've asked of this thread. Honestly, I feel bad for your wife. You're being an a-hole. Am I the a-hole for refusing to discuss our kid's last name with my ex? Ex and I broke up 5 years ago. We're civil enough for our kid's sake. But there is a lot of bad blood there that can't be undone easily. And this kind of discussion makes it harder. So ex got married a year ago and is 7 months pregnant with another child. She sent me an email not too long ago saying her and her husband have discussed adding their last name to our kid's last name. She said the kids had already been informed of their plans and were on board. But when my kids brought it up to me 2 days before ex said anything, the kids mentioned it and said they didn't want their names changed. And my daughter was upset because she took it as it was happening regardless of how they feel. My son got the same impression. I replied to ex that I did not consent, and I would not discuss the issue further. It was short and simple, and that was all I planned to do. But then I got a slew of emails from her expressing that I was a prick, and we should discuss issues pertaining to our children, and that I am denying the kids of what they want, and she'll take me to court over this regardless. I told her that was fine. If she wanted to waste money in court, I would see her there. Her husband decides to call my office and talk crap to me over the phone about this issue. A few of my friends said I should have at least discussed this with her, instead of just saying no and that I won't talk about it. Am I the a-hole for this? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If her husband responded by calling you at your work, then I'm not sure any discussion would have gone well anyway, except if it ended in them getting their way. They were justified in asking, but not in name-calling and calling you at work, which could have consequences for you. Not the a-hole. I think it was nice of Opie not to put his kids in it by saying they don't want it either. Opie can just as easily suggest they have the husband change his name and give the new kid the same last name as Opie. What? Then they can all have the same last name. Isn't that nice? Not the a-hole. Firstly, these are your kids too. Your input is required while they're minors. Secondly, it sounds like the kids weren't actually asked, but simply told this was happening. So she lied to you. Edited to add, if your ex or her partner are contacting you at work, it better be a child-related emergency. There's no other reason. The kids might have picked it up wrong. My ex was never great at communicating. But regardless, They have expressed strongly to me that they don't want this done, so that's all there is to it. Yep, that's point number 3. They don't want this. Firm not today, Hal. And while it's pessimistic, please document her attempt to force this name change and the response your children had. Info. Do I understand that correctly, that they want to add the new husband's last name to your children? That is so insane. I hope I understood that very wrong. Yes, this is what they want. So instead of Jones, it would be Jones-Smith or Smith-Jones. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to hyphenate my last name? My mom got married recently, and she and her husband to hyphenate their names and form one family name. Her husband's kids and my half-siblings are all on board with changing their names to the hyphenated version. I am not on board with this for me. I have expressed this at least 20 times since it first came up. I don't want my name changed, and I will not stand up in court and consent. My mom is so upset, and she has tried talking me around, even tried offering me bribes to go along. Her husband asked me why I'm against it, and I have told him straight, I like my name as it is, and it's my tie to my dad, who died 2 years ago, and I don't want anyone taking anything or adding anything to it. My name has been my name for 15 years, and no, just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I'll change it when I get married, so that's not an argument to use with me. I also pointed out I could do the same when I'm older and get married and hyphenate. And I don't want 3 last names, and his name would be the one to go in that circumstance, not my dad's. Both are pretty pissed I won't work with them on this, and agreed to compromise the change. My mom has told me I'm being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn. And having a family name that brings us all together is nice, and I'm separating myself from that. Her husband told me I'm making him feel like there's something wrong with him/his name. I told him that was his problem, and I had made my feelings clear. Am I the a-hole? Not today, Hal. Your name is your name, and at 15 you are old enough to decide for yourself. What do they want to do? Force you to change it and then let you change it back when you're of age? Hell, when my brother adopted his wife's kids, the younger was I think 4 or 5 and the older was 9 or 10. Maybe even younger, and to be honest, I think they were. Anyway, they asked the older if he wanted to take my brother's last name. They compromised and he took the last name as his middle name. The younger wasn't old enough to know the difference. Anyway, names are so important, and Opie absolutely has the right to choose hers. Not today, Opie. They have fair reasons for asking, just as you have fair reasons for refusing. However, I have expressed this at least 20 times since it first came up. I don't want my name changed, and I will not stand up in court and consent. That is 18 or 19 times more than should have been necessary. Trying to force the issue on their daughter makes them clearly a-holes here. Not today, Hal. Not today, Hal. You're not marrying the bloke. She is. She can change her name. Any kids they have can have their new name. Unless he adopts you, you shouldn't be under any obligation to do so. And even if he does, you're 15. You should be able to make your own mind. It's just a name. Just because your mom adds an extra name doesn't mean your relationship changes. Under no circumstances is he adopting me either. I'm happy to fight against changing my name and being adopted if I am ever forced to. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my stepdad to his friends after he called my dad a loser? My mom was a single mom until I, 16 male, was 8, and that's when she met my stepdad Luke. My dad wasn't around because my mom said he was an alcoholic and knew he wasn't gonna be a good dad. Never found out about me until I was 10, and it was a whole thing. But he'd already been sober for years. Now I'm 16, and we're close. He's not just a fun dad, but also strict. And he was always upfront about his problems because he doesn't want me falling into the same things. Luke wasn't happy when my dad came to my life. And you can tell because he'd get serious. And then he ignores my dad when he comes to see me at stuff or my birthday parties. I don't get to spend a lot of time with my dad. Only weekends and when I'm on school break or holidays, so I ask him if we could have more time together. My mom doesn't want to because I belong at home, so they're taking this to court now for him to get joint custody. The other day, Luke's friends came over to the house and they are playing poker in the kitchen. I came downstairs to charge my phone when I heard his friends ask how it's going with the custody thing. He was just ranting about my dad being a bum,
And then he said he doesn't know why he even want to go with that alcoholic loser. My dad was an alcoholic back then, but he literally been sober for like 11 years. He got his own business and make good money on top of all that, so it just made me mad how he was calling him. So I called out from the living room that my dad makes more than him, so I don't know why he thinks he can call him a loser when he's made his life better since he stopped drinking. I left my room mad, but I know it was quiet in the kitchen. My mom came to me after and she told me I didn't have a right to embarrass him like that. She knows Luke was out of line talking bad about my dad, but I need to understand it's hard for him knowing I want to spend more time at my dad's than here. So I don't know if I was the a-hole in this or not. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom and stepdad are though. What they are doing is called parental alienation. Essentially, trying to coach you to turn against your other parent, instead of letting you have whatever relationship you want. You are old enough to voice your opinion at a court. If you want more time with your dad, let him know that you are willing to testify that you want more time with him. Yeah, I know. That's what I told my dad that I'll tell a judge or whoever. He didn't want to push for more time before, unless I said I wanted that too. Sounds like you'd be better off away from Luke anyway. Not the a-hole. Your dad was an alcoholic and got better. Luke is an a-hole and staying the same. Not the a-hole. He shouldn't have talked about it in the house, friends or not. They aren't concerned about your feelings. You should have made to feel anything negative about wanting your dad in your life. I find it very interesting that they have made it about them. That's irresponsible, selfish, and childish. If this threatened them so much, perhaps they should work on being people who you want to be around. You hear stories about why people go no contact as adults, and this sort of thing is exactly why. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my stepsister borrow my ring? My stepsister lost her mom growing up very young, so she doesn't really remember her mom that well. She didn't have anything to remember her by because she didn't have anything of sentimental value from her mother. My mom died when I was young as well, but I remember she had a ring she got from my grandmother and wanted to give that ring to me but passed away before she could do so. I wear that ring every day, and usually I'm very picky about people touching it unless it's my father and grandmother. My stepsister noticed the ring and has been eyeing it. She's asked for it quite often, and I always say no. My stepsister would always beg. It doesn't have any meaning to her, so I don't know why a grown woman is begging for another adult's ring. She asked last week, and as usual I said no. She blew up on me and said it wasn't fair that I always got what I want, and called me petty and selfish a-hole. She went to her father like she was a child, and now her father is mad at me. My father defended me and now they're arguing. My stepsister is saying it's because of me and I feel bad. Am I the a-hole for not letting my stepsister borrow my ring? Not the a-hole. Make sure you protect that ring, because if she's this obsessed with it, she may resort to stealing it. I came here to say the same thing. Not the a-hole. It's not hers. It has no connection with her, but it's very, very special to you. Perhaps that's why she wants it, which is even worse. If her father is enabling her, then he's an a-hole and a bully. She's not called Veruca Salt, is she? Not the a-hole, and I'm surprised you felt you needed to ask. Family dynamics really mess with your head. If they are super wonky, things that are obvious to outsiders are difficult for those living it. There's been many things in my life where people have been like, WTF, why do you think you're an a-hole? And it's like, well, my family made me feel like one, so I'd second-guess myself. Not the a-hole. It's your ring, not hers. And it was your mother's and has a special meaning to you. If she really wants a ring, she can buy one herself. She's not entitled to your ring. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not stepping down from walking my daughter down the aisle? I was pretty young, 18, when I had this fling with an older woman. It lasted a few months, then we didn't see each other again. 3 years ago, I found out I had a 20-year-old daughter that I fathered with this woman. We only found out because she got matched with my brother on some DNA site he had an account on, and that's how the story trickled out. She never told me she got pregnant because she didn't want her husband to know about it. Apparently he did when my daughter was 7, and was gone for a few years, then got back together when she was a teen, but they had a strained relationship. It got even more strained when she found out the truth, and neither had told her. I've been seeing my daughter regularly ever since, and we've tried to build our own relationship as father/daughter. It's been an emotionally heavy but rewarding journey. My daughter has kept minimal contact with them both from what I know, and doesn't see either as often as she used to. She got engaged to her boyfriend of 5 years. It's meant to be a small backyard wedding, and my daughter has given me the honor of asking to walk her down the aisle. It was very overwhelming for me, and I said yes without hesitation. This has gotten back to her mother and husband, neither of which are happy about it, but since my daughter doesn't speak to them as much, they've contacted me. Since he's the one who raised her and such, it's rather disrespectful of me to accept a role I've only been filling for a few years when all the hard work was already done. I wanted to say plenty in that moment, but bit my tongue as best I could. He's just hurt that she didn't bother to ask him to be the one to give her away, and understands they have their own history. And asking me, man to man, to do him this favor and bow out of doing this since he's been the one in her life the most, and he understands it wasn't my fault that I wasn't. But still, seeing it from his perspective, yeah, I'm sure it's painful. My daughter doesn't want to consider it, so that's why stepping down on my own would be the next best thing, and I'd be doing something pretty disrespectful and selfish. That's rich coming from her, I know. Just to have a clear conscience on this, am I the a-hole? It's not your choice, and it's not that other man's choice. It's her choice, and she asked you, not the a-hole. I was just thinking that they, the mother and stepdad, seem very keen on taking other people's choices away. To then have the audacity to complain that Opie didn't do the hard work when he had no clue his daughter even existed? They're a-holes. And in asking Opie to step down, they're trying to take his daughter's choice away again, just in a roundabout way. They're going the right way to end up disowned. Wouldn't that be ironic? Not today, Hole. If your daughter is low contact with her mother and her stepfather, there's a very good reason for it. If you did bow out, there's no guarantee that she'll put whatever issues they all have aside and ask him to walk her down the aisle. You will also be deprived of yet another father-daughter moment. You've already missed out on so much, through no fault of your own. Don't miss out on this moment. If you do, this one will be your fault, and you will regret it forever. Do not step down. It's your daughter's choice. But you should talk to your daughter about doing something to include the only father she has known for a long time. Yes, they messed up by not telling her or you, but people are flawed, and he did raise her at the end of the day. Not the a-hole. Barely. He bowed out for a few years. If she thought he was worthy, she would have chosen him. Plus, he barely talks to them.